Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now this story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Honest Version 8785 and says, am I the arsehole for telling my friend that he deserved to have his girlfriend cheat on him and then get his ass beat by her affair partner? And just to give you a couple of warnings before we do get into the story, timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below, so feel free to skip it. It does contain emotional abuse, manipulation, physical violence, mentions of depression, and financial abuse as well. And let's get started. I can already see a name. Hear me. My friend Mark, male 18, has recently been having a lot of relationship troubles with his girlfriend, Leah, female 18. They got together back in February of this year, when we were still in high school, and their relationship has become a complete train wreck. Mark was, and still is, head over heels for Leah. He has told me and my other friends that she is definitely the one, and that he eventually plans on marrying and settling down. This all seemed both premature and immature to me, but it's besides the point. Leah, on the other hand, is a nightmare. She's cheated on Mark several times now, and every time she does, she gives Mark some lame story about him not being supportive enough, or that she made a mistake, or that she wanted to see him get jealous for her sake. He gobbles it up every time. According to Mark, Leah largely acts like this because her father was very abusive towards her and her mother, and therefore she carries a lot of trauma with her. Mark constantly reiterated that he wants to help her work past that, but things haven't really been going his way. Since September, Leah has been seeing this other guy, Derek, male 22, and she's 100% infatuated with him. I only know this based on what my other friends and Mark have been telling me because I was in another state for college. Mark has been arguing a lot with Leah about Derek, and she has threatened to leave Mark if he doesn't just simply accept her for who she is. He did. Not only that, he and Leah have entered what he calls a semi-open relationship. This means, according to Mark, that Leah is allowed to see Derek as much as she wants, but Mark isn't allowed to see anyone else. This is because Leah feared that Mark would become emotionally invested in them and leave her. Mark begrudgingly agreed to this and has been seething for months about it. Since about November, Leah has been seeing Derek more than she does Mark. While Mark doesn't admit to it, our other friends have told me that she is essentially in a full-time relationship with Derek and only comes to Mark for money and emotional support. Fast forward to this week and I'm back home for the break. Mark started texting me on Saturday saying that he hated Derek for trying to steal his girl and wanted to beat his ass that night. He said that he wanted me to come along since all of our other friends couldn't. They made up excuses not to go. They have told me this, but Mark doesn't know. Since I just got back home the day before, I was still exhausted, so I point blank refused Mark's request. I told him that Leah was a lost cause and I wasn't going to fight some people I'd never seen for her. Mark started begging me, saying that Leah is the love of his life and that he needs my help. I refused again. He then says he'll go on his own, but I told him that he probably shouldn't. I woke up Sunday morning to more than 300 messages on my phone from Mark and all of our friends. Long story short, Mark went over to Derek's place to bring Leah back. He ended up getting his ass kicked by Derek and his friends. They only stopped when Leah asked them to. I called Mark and told him that he should probably talk to a lawyer or something, but he refused since Leah asked him to not escalate the situation. I then told him that he was being dumb, and this triggered him so much he started saying how I was a bitch and a snake for not backing him up, and how I was a fake friend. I was so irritated at this point, so I told Mark that he deserved to get jumped, and it made sense while Leah preferred Derek over him. He hung up on me, and we haven't spoken since. Since then, my other friends have been saying that I'm an arsehole for how I handled the conversation. But they do agree Mark is a dumbass. Am I the arsehole? And there was one relevant comment on this one from Big Philosopher 2735 who says not the arsehole, he's delusional. Your other friend should have been honest with him. Maybe if everyone was honest, he'd get it. Good for you for not getting involved in the fight. Opie says we've all been trying to get him to leave her, but he keeps on insisting that she is the most spectacular person in the world beneath all the shit she gets up to. Mr. Pink Gold says not the arsehole and please convince Mark to press charges for assault and to leave that woman alone. She does not want him. She only wants his money apparently. OP quotes that and says he won't because she told him she doesn't want that. The fight left him with a black eye and a busted lip, among other injuries. Not only his money she likes, she says that he makes her feel like she's listened to and valued. Someone on the back of that one says, if he went there to provoke violence, he may get some charges too. And OP says, since I wasn't there, I can't verify this, but apparently the other guy punched him first. Also, there is the fact that Mark got his ass completely kicked by not only the guy, but also his buddies, while they didn't take any injuries whatsoever. And of course, there's going to be, when we cover some of the comments, there's going to be some of the usual doormat comments, absolutely, because, you can see it right here. Grow a spine, etc., etc., but I can't help but feel sorry for the person at the same time, because they're being completely used and taken advantage of. Yes, they're absolutely allowing it, I get that, but it still doesn't make it right. And I don't agree with him going around trying to, beat people up, etc., etc., but there's something not quite right in his head at this moment in time to be allowing this. And I do wonder if sitting him down, it might not make any difference whatsoever, but sitting him down as a group with all your friends and being totally blunt and honest and open with him and saying, you can see everyone's concerned, that we all really care for you and we're concerned about what this person is doing to you. They're using you emotionally, physically, and monetarily as well. And regardless of people calling him a doormat, a cuck, whatever, which I did already see in one of the comments, no one deserves to be treated like that. Had to be a bloody Mark as well, didn't it? Another user says, classic, fuck around and find out. A friend of mine did this in college over a girl. We all rolled up to watch them fight. My buddy got his ass whipped in hilarious fashion. It was 1v1, so we just let it happen, of course. Back in the good old days of 2003-ish. Funniest part was riding back to his place, he was like, damn, dude was sticking my ass so hard. I think the guy had some boxing training. Nerdy Swamp Witch says not the arsehole, but Mark needs a full-on intervention. We love you, buddy, but what this relationship is doing to you is toxic. Open relationships aren't open only on one side. Leia is using you for money and emotional support, but she does not love you. You do not treat someone you love this way. You need to see a therapist to work through the emotional abuse she is putting you through. If you don't, we can't continue to be people who support you, let you vent about this. PFX Vamp says, man, I don't get how anyone could possibly be a Mark. I mean, my partner is great, but if I found out she was cheating on me, I'd walk immediately. It's not worth getting a criminal record / ass kicking over something that you can't change. Not the arsehole. Tell Mark he needs to get his shit together and dump the dead weight. And as Peachy says, your friend is emotionally abused, likely due to his own emotional illness. It happens to men. And just like with women, pointing out the logical obvious won't work. What you need to do if you care is ask and beg him to see a professional. Maybe even set up an appointment for him. But no, you are not the arsehole for not going and getting beaten up with him because he is a masochist. And there was many other comments as well, like simp, doormat, cuck, the usual stuff. So OP does update the post and says some of my friends ended up going out with Mark to see how he was doing. We didn't want to go to his parents' place since Leia was now living there with him and we didn't want to see her. He does look very beaten up. Black eye, bruises all over his face and arms, busted lip, etc. But he was surprisingly in a good mood and even insisted that I didn't have to apologize for how I spoke last time. He told us that Derek ended up dumping Leia a few days after the fight. Apparently he asked Leia to dump Mark. She refused and they argued. I'll spare you most of it. Their conversation ended with Leia being kicked out of his apartment in the middle of the night and Mark had to come pick her up. He has refused his parents an hour request to escalate the situation at Leia's request. Mark has said that Leia has been very depressed about Derek dumping her and spends a lot of days crying. Mark just says he's incredibly thankful to be there to comfort her and emotionally support her. He keeps on saying that when it comes down to it, Leia chose him over Derek and nothing can take that away. Like I said above, Leia has decided to return to living with Mark. She can technically go to her mother's house but doesn't want to. Here's the real kicker. Mark says that he has a very good reason to believe that Leia might be in the early stages of pregnancy now. My friends and I assumed the child was Derek's, but Mark insisted that regardless, it would be his kid. We asked him to get paternity testing and he has refused since he can't do that to Leia. We've told him that the relationship is toxic, but he didn't want to hear it since that was a matter of perspective. Also, his parents have no clue about the potential pregnancy. He says that in the future, he doesn't want us to say anything about Leia unless it's the absolute truth. His speech of singing her praises. My other friends and I are all left pretty stunned, and I'm thinking that at this stage, I'll slowly be removing myself from Mark's life. It sucks since I've known him for a long time and do enjoy his company, but I don't think I'll be able to remain friends with him in good faith if I'm not able to speak honestly to him. A commenter says, "Dude is trying to ruin his life as fast as possible." Opie says 100% he is. It's tragic to watch him give up everything for this pointless relationship. Lotus Biscoff Baby says, "Forgive me for this, but me personally, I wouldn't even bother with someone like Mark. He's delusional and stupid at this point, and he can't even see how manipulative Leia is being. He's willing to throw his whole life away for a girl who has no respect for him and for a baby that probably isn't even his. OP, it's probably best just to keep your distance or go no contact with Mark, seeing as he's made his choice." OP says, "Yeah, I'll be keeping my distance. It's just so awful that he's throwing his life away for the most useless reason." But High Scottish says, "I, in Mark's mother's place, would kick Leia out of my house and tell Mark the child would not enter my house without a paternity test, and I would no longer be supporting him financially." OP says if his parents try anything, he'd go no contact with them. He told us that between his parents, dad and stepmom, and Leia, he's choosing Leia. It really does suck, and I feel like it's extremely unfair to them. And that was OP's last post on the matter. As you can imagine, a lot of comments saying more doormats, simp, etc, etc. Some people that saying that some people can't be saved unless they sort of accept that help. And I'll probably take some flack for my comment and, accept it. Because I think OP is totally right to take a step back from this situation, maybe keep the door open for Mark for one day when, and hopefully he does decide to return to their friend group and see what's going on in his life. Whether that happen or not, who knows? But a part of me still does find this incredibly sad that there's someone out there willing to accept this, such low self-esteem that they're willing to accept this kind of behavior in their life. Yes, like I keep saying, they are accepting it, but it still doesn't make it right, in my opinion. Anyway, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? I'm sure you already know how you'd deal with it if it was you. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from B-Day Surprise Am I the Arsehole, saying, "Am I the arsehole for telling my fiance's friends that they can't organize a party for his birthday because I already have plans?" So, my fiance, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 6 years. We're in the middle of planning our wedding, but that's besides the point. Lol. Anyway, he's the love of my life and my best mate in the world, and I want him to be happy. So, we live in a city that is close to some beautiful hills. Sometimes we go for drives in those hills. There is a little town that my fiance loves, even though he has never actually stayed there. It is his birthday next Friday, so I decided to take him on a mini holiday to that town. I found a cute hotel and researched and organized some activities that I know he'll love. We stay from Friday to Monday. I talked to his boss and he agreed to let my fiance take 2 days off, but won't say anything to keep it a surprise. So yesterday, one of his friends messaged me and told me about a party they've been organizing for my fiance and asked me to guide him to it without giving it away. The party was supposed to be on Friday night. I told them that we'll be out of town Friday night, but I'd help them throw it on Thursday. His friend started then blowing up my phone, telling me it's uncool to take him away on his birthday without prior warning or discussing it with him, and that he'd probably rather spend his birthday having a beer with the boys instead of doing boring couple shit. After some back and forth, I told them to get fucked and that they should have consulted with me and not the other way around. They said they're going to tell my fiance about both of our plans so that he can decide what he wants to do. I asked them not to, as I went to great lengths to keep it a surprise, but they said that it's only fair that I should have remembered that they might want to do something, and that most of them have known him for longer than I do. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask for permission to take my fiance on a trip on his birthday, but maybe it's a faux pas. Someone asked for info and says, "Is your fiance the first in his crowd to get married?" Because I'm guessing yes, and that his friends are pissed, and so they're claiming him, like you are Yoko breaking up the band. It will not be over. Watch out. OP says he's the second of the group, but the first one is divorced again though. Another user says, not the arsehole. Is this a traditional that throws parties for him? Do you typically check with them? Because if you don't, I'd be pointing out that you had no reason to think anything had changes, and as his partner of 6 years, the polite thing for them to do was to run the date by you. Opie says they have thrown parties for him before, but it's not a tradition. Last year we were in Italy on one day of his birthday, and 3 years ago he just wanted to have a quiet one with some movies. And another user says, not the arsehole, but you should ask your fiance. Had it been any other day and you had planned a surprise trip, it wouldn't be an issue. But it's his birthday. He'll enjoy it with you as well as his friends. You need to ask him what he wants to do on his birthday. Opie says that's not how we work. We're big on surprises. He would think it's strange if I asked him what he wants to do. If he had a specific thing in mind, he would have told me. Now, putting myself in the friend situation, I'd definitely be talking to the fiance first and just asking, have you got anything planned for that day? Because me and the lads, we got a surprise for him and we wanted to keep it a surprise as well. And then if she said, no, I've got a surprise from that day, she tried to compromise as well. She said, how about the Thursday? And they was like, no, we've known him longer, blah, blah, blah. Lads. I can't blame you for your reaction on this one. Deadly Housefrau says, not the arsehole. Talk to your fiance and tell him generally that you had planned a surprise for him. Tell him his friends planned something without looping you in and won't be flexible about doing it one day early. And tell him they have threatened to spoil your surprise and ask him to specifically tell him not to do that. Camilla Sky says, not the arsehole. What kind of friends organize a surprise party for a friend without the partner? And are you his fiance, not just a girl he dates for a while? And for the people who say that OP should have checked with a fiance, it's a surprise. And the friends are really the arseholes for the shitty comments and that they will snitch. Edit. Also, if they really ruin the surprise and let OP's fiance decide, what a shitty decision should he make? Stay with the boys and his fiance were disappointed, or he chose OP, the woman he wants to marry by the way, and his boys will throw a tantrum. This would really ruin his birthday because there is no such thing like a good solution. Happy birthday, you can decide which people you will disappoint. So OP did come in with an update and said, so some of you asked for an update, so I shall deliver. First things first, the surprise wasn't ruined. We got to go and my fiance loved it. I followed your advice and told him that I had something planned that clashed with the plans his mates made, and they are now threatening to ruin the surprise. I offered to tell him what I had planned, but he shut that down pretty quickly. He then called one of the boys and asked them what the fuck was wrong with them to pull this stunt, and that they should know by now that our birthday surprises are a very important part of our relationship and something we look forward to the whole year. After a lengthy talk with his mate, it turned out that the boys wanted one last big party piss up before he got married, as they all felt like he was drifting away from them and that his priorities shifted. Fiance then told him it's normal for priorities to shift when you're in a long-term relationship. He made it known that he was very disappointed with the boys' behavior towards me and that they needed to apologize. Apart from that, we had a wonderful weekend. He loved it and even ordered a blanket with his favorite photos of the trip on it. My fiance didn't go to the boys' night out last week as no one has apologized to me. I guess that showed them that he was serious and most of them called or messaged me afterwards with an apology, except for one bloke. Everyone apart from him will be coming to ours for a barbecue next week, and we're both hoping to be able to move past this rather unpleasant experience. That's all guys. Take care. Good supportive partner, telling the boys what's up apart from one of them who I got a little feeling, obviously I don't know, he may be the instigator of the bunch, but I really do hope that their barbecue went well and they got together, apologized, made up, and things are a lot better between them all now. But now I'm going to turn this one towards you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on and it will automatically scroll through all the videos for you. So whatever you're up to, maybe you're doing some hobbies, bit of crafting, bit of knitting, bit of crochet, bit of drawing, bit of walking. Who knows what you're up to? Let me know over on Twitter at Mark Narrations. Love to see your photos when you get involved. It really does make my day. It will continue to scroll through all those videos for you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Sorry about that long outro. Much love.